Hello everyone, Stephen here. Today we're going to be doing a variation of the last tutorial, which was renaming PDF files, but today we're going to be renaming PDF files based off some sort of text that's within the PDF file. So just to kind of explain, say we have a bunch of files from like a paralegal or something, and the names are currently like Bob versus Supermarket or Jim versus Supermarket and so on. And on its own, it's not very useful to search, so we're trying to give it a more meaningful name. And let's say inside the PDF, we have this case number, and we want to rename the file to this actual case number. So we're going to be showing how to do that today. Okay, so first things first, you want to do Control-Shift-P, and then you want to type in this bar right here, terminal, : select default profile, hit enter or click it, and then select command prompt. So we'll be using command prompt as the default terminal within VS Code. Okay, next you want to do terminal, new terminal. And just as an update, I will be posting all the code and whatnot and commands on the GitHub, so no need to follow along step by step if you can't. So right now, the first thing we're going to do is create a virtual environment because the actual reading of the PDF file is going to be done by a third-party library called PyMuPDF. So we're going to create a virtual environment to keep our packages or libraries separate from one another across the operating system. So that's what the above command did. Next, we're going to activate that virtual environment by running this command, vnv scripts activate. So that's going to activate our virtual environment. As you can see here, we've now switched to our virtual environment. Next, we're going to upgrade pip just to make sure it's upgraded in our virtual environment. So it's going to go through that. And next, after that, we're actually going to install the package that is going to help us with reading the PDF. So we're going to do that now. And I have it installed already, so it's not going to take that much time, but it might take a minute or two for you. All right. So without further ado, we'll get into the actual coding of this. So what you're going to want to do is just create a new file, and we're just going to call it rename_pdf.py. Again, the code will be on GitHub, so don't worry if you can't follow along. And I'll just copy and paste all the lines over. So these 3 lines, we're just importing libraries. Import fits is the actual library we'll be using to read the PDF, and that's the one we just installed right here, the PyMuPDF. And the rest of the imports are the same from our last tutorial. We got OS. From the OS library, we've got directory entry, current directory, get working directory, and change directory and rename. And then we have the glob one, which will get our PDF list for us. Next, you're going to want to create 2 variables. One is going to be where the PDFs are stored. So the file structure is like so. So right here is our project folder. We have our virtual environment, PDF files, the actual script we're creating right now. And PDF files is where all the PDFs are. So that's what we're doing with this line. Next line is we're changing into that directory. So in the context of this program, when we first start, we're in this directory right here. So the line change directory is essentially just clicking into PDF files like this. Okay. Next line, PDF list equals glob and some regex here. And regex is just going to search for files that end with PDF. So this star represents the rest of the file like this. Right here, so Bob versus Supermarket would be the star, and we're just looking for every file that ends with .pdf because we're assuming we're renaming everything within this folder. That is a PDF, of course. All right, so next 2 lines are going to look somewhat familiar from the last tutorial, except for the second one. So for PDF and PDF list, so this is going to go through every PDF in the PDF list we created, and just to clarify what this does, we'll just print it out. So when we actually run it, it'll print off every PDF in order. So Bob, Jim, Larry. So with that out of the way, we'll explain the with statement. So when you're operating on files, it's important to close the file once you're done reading with it to avoid another programmer service from opening it while another program still has it open. And this is just to do with data integrity. So what this statement says with fits.open PDF, and this is the PDF file as PDF object, it ensures once you leave the block of the with block that it will close the file properly. So just kind of ease of mind right there. And PDF object will represent a PDF from this list as we go through it. So with that being said, we'll actually get the text from each PDF with this new line of code right here. So text equals PDF object at 0.getText. So from the request on the last video, the author was asking just to grab the title of the PDF and create that as the name. So I assume the PDF title will be on the first page, and that's what that says right here. So PDF object at 0. Now, Python is a zero-indexed programming language, so if you have 10 pages, it'll actually be from 0 to 9. So if you're getting the first page, it'll be 0. And .getText will get the text from that PDF. So just to prove, we will print it out. Run that. And if we open Larry versus Supermarket, because it's the last one, this is the text we currently have. And within the command prompt window, you can see this is the same text from the first page, and there's just a bunch of white space here. So we are indeed getting all the text from each PDF file from this. All right, so last two lines, and we'll go through them quickly just to explain them. So new file name is getting text.split, and we're splitting on a new line character, and we're doing it on the first occurrence. So just to briefly explain what that means is we're trying to rename the file to this right here, and we really don't care about all this text right here. So the line text.split on this new line character and the first occurrence means when it's scanning the first page of each PDF, it'll find the new line character, which is at the end of every line right here, here, and here, and so on and so forth. It'll find the first occurrence, which will be this one, and it'll split the text and store it into an array with two elements. So the first element at the 0th index is going to be this, and the second element at the first index is going to be all this text right here. So we're splitting on the first new line character, and we're grabbing the 0th index of the array, which is this right here. And then finally, we're stripping any white space off it just to make it cleaner, because we don't want a whole lot of white space in our title. So we're just stripping off anything unnecessary. Next, we're actually going to rename the PDF file. So you're renaming it from the old name, which is all these ones that we saw right here. And then we're renaming it to the new file name plus the extension for PDF to ensure that it stays as a PDF. So once you're done with all this, and I'll just quickly get rid of this line, it should work. So just look at the top left right here. And if we run the program, you can see all the PDFs changed to the case number. And that was done by grabbing the text from here. Now, this is just a kind of rough template of how you would do it. If you were trying to get text, say like this from this line here, you would need kind of a different way of doing it. So you could just modify the program, and if you have a request, I could try looking into it. That's all. Thanks, and bye.